Well, she must have dumped him or he wouldn't be so depressed.
Yeah, that's it.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas was once the face of a generation. As the charming and witty Randy Taylor on Home Improvement, he captured the hearts of millions of viewers across the globe. With his boyish smile, quick humor, and undeniable talent, he quickly became one of the most beloved child actors of the 1990s. His fame wasn't limited to television, films like Tom and Huck, and his voice role as young Simba in Disney's The Lion King solidified him as a cultural icon. But then, at the height of his fame, Jonathan vanished from the spotlight. Fans were left wondering, why would someone so young, talented, and successful walk away from Hollywood? Rumors swirled, fame fatigue, personal struggles, or perhaps a desire for a normal life. But the truth was far more intentional. Jonathan wasn't running from the industry. He was taking control of his own life, making choices that prioritized his well-being, education, and personal growth over celebrity. Over the years, sightings of him were rare, sparking endless speculation about his whereabouts, his career choices, and even his personal happiness. Did he regret leaving fame behind? Was he preparing for a quiet comeback, or had he found fulfillment outside Hollywood entirely? In today's video, we're uncovering the full story of Jonathan Taylor Thomas after Home Improvement. From his sudden departure to his life away from the cameras, the educational pursuits, and the rare public appearances that reignited fan curiosity, this story is far more surprising and inspiring than most people realize. Jonathan Taylor Thomas, born Jonathan Taylor Weiss on September 8, 1981, in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, was destined for the spotlight from a young age. His family quickly recognized his charm, intelligence, and natural ease in front of a camera. When his family later moved to Sacramento, California, Jonathan's opportunities for auditions and early acting roles expanded, setting the stage for a career that would captivate a generation. Even as a child, he had a remarkable ability to memorize lines, convey emotion convincingly, and connect with audiences, qualities that distinguished him from his peers. Jonathan's big break came in 1991 when he landed the role of Randy Taylor on the hit sitcom Home Improvement. Playing the middle son of Tim the Toolman Taylor, Jonathan quickly became a fan favorite. Randy was witty, clever, and often the voice of reason amid the chaos of Tim Allen's antics, and Jonathan's performance brought the character to life with a charm that was impossible to ignore. His timing, facial expressions, and natural comedic instincts made him stand out, transforming him from a supporting actor into one of the show's highlights. As Home Improvement soared in popularity, Jonathan's fame expanded beyond television. He starred in films such as Man of the House and Tom and Huck, demonstrating his versatility as a young actor. His voice work as young Simba in Disney's The Lion King further cemented his status as a cultural icon. Fans adored him, the media celebrated him, and industry insiders recognized his talent and professionalism. Jonathan Taylor Thomas was no longer just a child actor, he was a phenomenon. However, fame brought its own pressures. The rigorous shooting schedules, media appearances, and constant public scrutiny left little room for the normal experiences of adolescence. While Jonathan appeared composed and confident on screen, off-camera he was navigating the challenges of growing up under the intense gaze of the public. Maintaining schoolwork, social life, and acting commitments required extraordinary discipline, and Jonathan handled it with remarkable poise. Despite the pressures, Jonathan's early experiences in Hollywood shaped his understanding of life and success. He realized that fame could be fleeting and that personal growth, education, and self-discovery were equally important. Friends and co-stars frequently noted his maturity, intelligence, and humility, traits that set him apart from other child stars. These qualities would soon influence a life-changing decision, one that would surprise fans worldwide. By the late 1990s, Jonathan Taylor Thomas had reached the peak of his career. Beloved by audiences, respected by peers, and admired for his talent and professionalism, he seemed poised for continued success. Yet behind the smiles and accolades, he began to contemplate a different path, one that prioritized his well-being, education, and a chance at a normal life away from the relentless spotlight of Hollywood. Jonathan's journey during these formative years set the stage for a decision that would forever change his career and personal life. showing that even the brightest stars must navigate choices that define not just fame, but identity and fulfillment. By the late 1990s, Jonathan Taylor Thomas had become one of the most recognizable faces on television. Millions of viewers tuned in each week to watch him as Randy Taylor on Home Improvement, and his film work and voice acting in Disney's The Lion King only increased his visibility. At such a young age, he was living a life most could only dream of, surrounded by fame, money, and opportunity. Yet beneath the surface, Jonathan was beginning to feel the weight of the pressures that came with being a child star. Fame, while glamorous, came with serious challenges. His every move was scrutinized by fans, media, and industry professionals. School, friendships, and normal adolescent experiences were often sacrificed for auditions, filming schedules, and promotional events. Even mundane activities, like attending a local event or shopping, could become public spectacles. For a teenager seeking identity and independence, the constant attention was overwhelming. While many child actors struggle with these pressures, Jonathan approached them with a maturity beyond his years. Yet he knew that the intensity of public life could not continue indefinitely. In 1998, Jonathan made a decision that shocked Hollywood. He left Home Improvement at the height of his popularity. While some speculated about burnout, family issues, or dissatisfaction with acting, the truth was simpler and more profound. Jonathan wanted to focus on his education and personal development. He had achieved extraordinary success as a young actor, but he realized that life outside Hollywood offered experiences that fame could not provide. The choice reflected remarkable foresight, as it prioritized long-term growth over short-term recognition. After leaving the show, Jonathan enrolled at Harvard University, stepping away from the cameras to pursue higher education. College life offered a chance to experience freedom, learn new perspectives, and interact with peers away from public scrutiny. Friends recall that he immersed himself in studies, forming friendships, and exploring interests that had little to do with acting. This period allowed him to develop intellectually and personally, laying the foundation for the life he wanted beyond celebrity. Though he remained selective about acting projects, appearing occasionally in films and voice roles, Jonathan was careful not to let his career define him. He prioritized meaningful opportunities over constant visibility, signaling a shift from child star to young adult who valued control over his own life. This deliberate retreat from fame fueled curiosity and speculation among fans. Yet it was a conscious choice rooted in self-awareness, discipline, and a desire for a balanced life. Jonathan Taylor Thomas's decision to step away from Hollywood at such a critical point in his career was rare among child stars. While many struggle with the transition to adulthood, he displayed an extraordinary sense of agency and maturity. By choosing education, privacy, and personal growth, he demonstrated that success is not solely measured by fame or fortune, but by the ability to create a life on one's own terms. After leaving Home Improvement and stepping back from the intense spotlight of Hollywood, Jonathan Taylor Thomas began a chapter of his life that very few fans ever got to see. While the world remembered him as the charming, witty middle son of the Taylor household, Jonathan was quietly navigating adulthood on his own terms, choosing personal growth, education, and independence over fame. Enrolling at Harvard University in 2000 was a pivotal step in this journey. For Jonathan, attending college was not just about academics. It was about experiencing life beyond Hollywood. The university offered him the opportunity to engage with peers who didn't know him as a famous actor, allowing him to form genuine friendships and immerse himself in studies without public scrutiny. He focused on subjects that interested him, broadened his worldview, and explored passions outside of the entertainment industry. This period marked a significant shift. Jonathan was no longer defined by roles, magazine covers, or public perception. Though he appeared occasionally in films and took on selective voice roles, Jonathan maintained a deliberate distance from the industry. He wanted to ensure that his career choices were meaningful rather than driven by obligation or expectation. This measured approach allowed him to maintain his skills while avoiding the pitfalls that often accompany former child stars trying to reclaim fame. In essence, he had redefined success, not as constant public attention, but as a balanced and fulfilling life. Jonathan's retreat from Hollywood fueled endless speculation. Fans wondered if he had grown tired of acting, if he was struggling personally, or if he planned a grand comeback. The truth, however, was far simpler and more grounded. Jonathan was building a life that reflected his values, prioritizing personal development and long-term happiness over short-term recognition. Friends and colleagues who remained in touch describe him as thoughtful, humble, and introspective, qualities that had always been present but were now fully nurtured. This period of relative anonymity also gave Jonathan space to reconnect with everyday experiences that most people take for granted. Simple pleasures like spending time with friends, traveling, or exploring new interests became central to his life. In stepping away from fame, he demonstrated a rare maturity for someone so young. He understood that celebrity is fleeting, but the choices made for personal growth can have lasting impact. Jonathan Taylor Thomas's decision to withdraw from the public eye was a turning point. Unlike many child stars, he avoided the scandals, personal crises, or identity struggles that often plague young actors in Hollywood. Instead, he chose a deliberate path, embracing privacy, education, and self-discovery. His story shows that success is not just about being seen or admired. It's about living authentically and making conscious choices that align with one's values. After stepping away from the relentless spotlight of Hollywood, Jonathan Taylor Thomas spent the following years rediscovering himself. While fans continued to reminisce about his iconic roles on Home Improvement and in films like Tom and Huck, Jonathan quietly focused on a life of personal growth, learning, and exploration. He had realized early on that childhood fame, while exhilarating, could never substitute for genuine fulfillment and self-understanding. Jonathan's time at Harvard University was pivotal in shaping this new chapter. Immersed in rigorous academics and surrounded by peers who did not know him as a famous actor, he had the rare opportunity to redefine himself. Studying subjects that intrigued him, Jonathan expanded his perspective, delved into literature and culture, and developed critical thinking skills that would serve him well beyond Hollywood. The experience provided a sense of normalcy that had been absent during his formative years in show business, a chance to explore his identity away from public scrutiny. Even while distanced from acting, Jonathan occasionally returned for selective projects, taking roles that resonated with him personally or artistically. This approach allowed him to maintain his craft without succumbing to the pressures of constant visibility. Unlike many former child stars, he refused to chase fame for its own sake. His choices reflected maturity, careful consideration, and a clear understanding of what mattered most: living a balanced, intentional life. Away from cameras and red carpets, Jonathan embraced ordinary experiences that most people take for granted. Traveling, cultivating friendships, and pursuing hobbies allowed him to reconnect with everyday life. He also explored opportunities to give back, engaging in projects and causes that aligned with his values. These quieter, less public endeavors became central to his happiness, allowing him to nurture his passions without the constant judgment of an audience. Jonathan Taylor Thomas's retreat from the entertainment industry demonstrates a rare kind of wisdom for someone who achieved fame so young. He showed that stepping away does not equate to failure or regret. Rather, it can be a conscious decision to prioritize personal fulfillment, growth, and well-being. While the world speculated on his absence, Jonathan was building a life defined by choice, reflection, and authenticity. His story stands as an inspiration not just to former child actors, but to anyone facing societal or external pressures. Jonathan exemplifies the courage to step back, reassess priorities, and focus on a life that truly matters. By rediscovering himself, he proved that fame is temporary, but self-awareness, education, and personal growth can create a lasting legacy that transcends the screen. Today, Jonathan Taylor Thomas lives a life that is remarkably private yet fulfilling. Far removed from the constant scrutiny of Hollywood, he has built a life centered on personal growth, education, and meaningful work. While fans remember him as the charismatic Randy Taylor from Home Improvement or the voice of young Simba in The Lion King, Jonathan has redefined what success means for himself, choosing balance and authenticity over fame. Although he occasionally appears in selective projects, Jonathan carefully evaluates each opportunity. He prioritizes roles that align with his interests and values, ensuring that his work remains intentional rather than obligatory. By doing so, he maintains a connection to acting without letting it dominate his life. This approach has allowed him to cultivate a sense of control and stability that is rare among former child stars. Away from the cameras, Jonathan enjoys the simplicity of life that he missed during his early years in Hollywood. Traveling, spending time with friends, and pursuing personal passions have become central to his happiness. These experiences, combined with his education and thoughtful approach to life, have allowed him to grow into a grounded, introspective adult. Friends often describe him as humble, intelligent, and reflective, qualities that have only deepened with time. Jonathan Taylor Thomas's story is an inspiring example of resilience and self-determination. By stepping away from fame at the right time and investing in his personal growth, he avoided the pitfalls that often plague child stars. He has shown that it is possible to reclaim one's life, make intentional choices, and build a future on one's own terms. Ultimately, Jonathan's journey reminds us that true success is not measured by popularity or public recognition, but by the ability to live authentically, pursue personal passions, and maintain a sense of balance and fulfillment. The boy who captured the hearts of millions has grown into a man who has mastered the art of quiet success, showing the world that sometimes the greatest triumphs happen away from the spotlight.